23 years of watching you play in the NBA and the 3 years I watched you play in high school, I never saw you make a full-out extension dive like that. And he said, you're right, I've never done that. It's awesome.
In 26 years of watching LeBron James, he had never seen him dive. Let that sentence do exactly what it does to the legacy conversation. Because J.J. Redick did not say that as a criticism. He said it as a compliment. He was celebrating a hustle play. He was praising the effort. He was standing at a podium describing a 41-year-old player throwing his body across the floor in overtime as awesome and a winning play. And underneath every word of that celebration is the most devastating indictment of LeBron James's competitive identity that his own head coach has ever accidentally delivered.
This is hilarious. LeBron James dives for a ball in a play that helps them win the game. And it's actually not a positive for his career. It's a detriment to his career. It's a negative. It's a hit.
In 23 years of NBA basketball, in 3 years of high school basketball at St. Vincent St. Mary in Akron, across 26 years of watching LeBron James play basketball at every level against every opponent in every building, J.J. Redick had never once seen LeBron James make a full extension dive for a loose ball. Not once. 26 years. 0 dives. And then on March 14, 2026, against the Denver Nuggets, in overtime, with an arthritic left foot and a right hip contusion, and a career-low 15.8 field goal attempts per game, and a scoring drought that has not produced a 30-point game since January 13th. The man making $52.6 million to be the cornerstone of the Los Angeles Lakers threw his body across the floor for the first time in his entire professional life.
There's a rebound, and LeBron James dives for the basketball. He dives for the basketball like he never dove before, okay? He dives for the basketball and then, of course, does his signature painful roll, cry baby roll, or whatever you want to call it, on the floor, like he's in a lot of pain and all that other stuff.
At 41 years old, for the first time, ever. And his head coach called it awesome. Here is what nobody is saying out loud about that dive. The thing that lives underneath the awesome and the winning play, and the celebration that the entire basketball world participated in when the clip went viral. A player who has never felt the need to dive for a loose ball in 23 NBA seasons is a player who has spent 23 NBA seasons being the most important possession on the floor. The player who does not need to throw his body at the ground because the ground is where role players live, where the supporting cast scrambles, where the energy guys make their living and earn their contracts and justify their roster spots.
All right, so you got to take a look at this play. Look at this. The ball's loose. LeBron James dives on the floor. He gets the possession, or he gets the possession. Look at him. Like, I'm going to replay this for you and tell me. This is slowed down. Tell me exactly, where does he get hurt? Where does he get hurt for that reaction? Let me play it for you again. Okay, so he dives. He goes on the side. Like, what the heck? He didn't hit himself anywhere. Nothing. He was a low dive.
LeBron James has spent his entire career above the ground. Because LeBron James has spent his entire career being LeBron James. The one the system bends around. The one the roster accommodates. The one whose usage rate defines the identity of every team he has ever played for. And in overtime against the Denver Nuggets on March 14, 2026, LeBron James dove for a loose ball for the first time in his professional life. And Luka Doncic hit the actual game-winning shot, a 17-foot fadeaway in the final seconds. And J.J. Redick stood at the podium and called the dive the game winner instead. Not the shot that won the game. The dive that preserved the possession before the shot. LeBron James, at 41, having never dived in 23 years, making news for a hustle play his head coach had to go back 26 years of memory to confirm had never happened before. This is where the greatest basketball career in modern history has arrived.
It's a big ask. I don't think MJ would have done it. I don't think a lot of stars that can still play at LeBron's level individually would do it.
Jordan could never do this. Colin Cowherd praised LeBron James for the dive, and in doing so, delivered the most unintentionally brutal assessment of LeBron's current situation that any prominent analyst has produced all season. Jordan could never do this. Accept less, take a back seat, dive for loose balls while someone else hits the game-winning shots, sacrifice his body at 41 for a possession that his 27-year-old co-star then converts into the actual winning basket.
Preseason. This is going to be a weird year for LeBron. Face of the league to not only the second option, but net rating tells you the third option. He's going to have to set screens. He's going to have to rebound a little more. He's going to have to do the dirty work.
Career low, 15.8 field goal attempts per game. This is not a slump. This is not a rough patch in an otherwise productive season. This is the historical documentation of a player who has systematically reduced his offensive footprint to accommodate the reality that his presence on this team is no longer the answer to the question the team is asking. The question the Lakers are asking is, how do we build around Luka Doncic's prime? The answer is not 15.8 field goal attempts per game from LeBron James. The answer is not accommodating the human struggle JJ Redick described at a press conference 3 days ago. The answer is not the minus 8.4 net rating per 100 possessions in the three-star lineup that has been the albatross around every win this team has threatened to build into something sustainable. The answer is the 14-7 record without him, the plus 23.3 net rating, the 121.8 offensive rating, the 108.1 defensive rating, the clear pecking order that Redick described as existing when Luka and Reaves play with low-usage players around them. LeBron James is averaging career-low field goal attempts, and his coach is celebrating a dive that has never happened in 26 years as the single best moment of a 127-125 overtime win over Denver. The dive is not the story. The career-low attempts are not the story. The real story is that a player who has spent 23 years being the most important possession on the floor is now getting his head coach's highest praise for a hustle play he made near the ground where the supporting cast lives. At 41, LeBron James is definitely entering the twilight of his career. Gone are the days when the boy from Akron was averaging 60 to 70 games per season. The veteran has been involved in only 44 games this season with the Lakers. A right sciatica issue was hampering his performance when the season started in October 2025. And since January 2026, he's been dealing with left foot arthritis and, more recently, a left elbow contusion. 44 games. In 67 played by the Lakers this season, 4 separate injury designations. Sciatica in October, left foot arthritis since January, left elbow contusion in March after the first Nuggets game, right hip contusion. All 4 active simultaneously on the injury report at various points across a season that started in October and has now reached the final 16 games before the playoffs begin. 44 games. At $52.6 million. With a dive that was the first of its kind in 26 years happening in Game 44 or 45, depending on when you start counting after the hip and the elbow and the arthritic foot, and the sciatica all allowed him back in the building at the same time. And JJ Redick's injury update cadence tells the story more completely than any statistical analysis available. He was optimistic LeBron would play against the Knicks on March 8th. LeBron did a pregame workout and decided he needed more days. Redick said, day-to-day after Monday's practice. By Tuesday, he said, probably a couple more days. By Thursday, he was a game-time decision against the Bulls. He returned against the Bulls March 13th. He played against the first Nuggets game. He dove in the second Nuggets game on March 14th. And JJ Redick said he will feel that tomorrow. He will feel that tomorrow. The dive that has never happened in 26 years. From the player who has never needed to be on the ground because the ground was not where LeBron James was built to exist. He will feel it tomorrow. At 41. With an arthritic foot. And a hip that was already in the injury report before the body hit the floor in overtime.
Just a big-time shot by a generational player. He's just a big-time player, man. And You know, for us to kind of just, we wanted the last shot. We wanted to put the ball in our guys' hands. Started with AR. AR was able to find him. He was able to get away from the double team and just hit one of his patented step backs. So it's going to be just the first of many games for him in the Lakers uniform.
The first of many game winners like that for him in a Lakers uniform. LeBron said that about Luka Doncic's 17-foot fadeaway, the shot that actually won the game. The shot that J.J. Redick overlooked at the podium in favor of praising the dive. The shot that a generational player made in the final seconds while the all-time leading scorer was standing somewhere behind him, having contributed the hustle play that set it up. LeBron James stood at a podium after an overtime win and described someone else's shot as big time. Predicted someone else would hit many more game winners. Called someone else a generational player. In 23 years of NBA basketball, LeBron James has been the generational player. He has been the big-time shot. He has been the one whose game winners get celebrated at post-game press conferences while teammates watch and smile. He was the block. He was the shot. He was the moment. And on March 14, 2026, he was the dive. The one J.J. Redick had never seen in 26 years. The one that set up the actual game winner, hit by the actual generational player, whose prime LeBron is now cheerfully supporting from the floor level of a game he used to control from above. The first of many game winners like that for him in a Lakers uniform. Not for me. For him. Luka, in a Lakers uniform, hitting many more of those. While LeBron, at 41, with the arthritic foot, with the career low the hip contusion, with the career low field goal attempts, dives for the loose balls that set them up. Here is the full picture that March 14, 2026 assembled in a single overtime game against the Denver Nuggets. LeBron James was not the top scorer. Luka Doncic led the charge. Austin Reaves added 32 points, including a shot that pushed the game to overtime. Marcus Smart hit 5 threes. LeBron contributed 17 points on 7 of 13 shooting in 40 minutes. And then he dove. For the first time in 26 years. For a loose ball. With an arthritic foot and a hip contusion. And his head coach bypassed the actual game-winning shot to call the dive awesome and a winning play. J.J. Redick said he will feel that tomorrow. Colin Cowherd said Jordan could never do this. As a compliment. LeBron said Luka will hit many more game winners like that in a Lakers uniform. And the career-low 15.8 field goal attempts sat quietly in the background, confirming everything that every number, every press conference, every net rating, every record, every quote, and every injury update has been confirming since October. The player who has never needed to dive is now being celebrated for diving. The player who has spent 23 years making the game-winning shots is now predicting many more game-winning shots for someone else. The player whose head coach said there is a clear pecking order when Luka and AR are on the floor is now the player making hustle plays near the ground that preserve possessions for the actual engine to finish. J.J. Redick said he had never seen it in 26 years. He said it was awesome. It is awesome. And it is the most devastating thing LeBron James's own head coach has accidentally said about what this career has become in the spring of 2026. 26 years. One dive. Career low attempts. Arthritic foot. Generational player hitting the actual winner. He will feel it tomorrow. The whole NBA already does. Drop a comment right now. Does J.J. Redick accidentally exposing that LeBron has never dived in 26 years tell you more about his competitive legacy than anything Skip Bayless has ever said? And does Luka hitting the actual game winner while LeBron gets celebrated for the hustle play that set it up tell you everything you need to know about where the torch has already been passed? Hit that like button. Subscribe. The greatest player in modern history just dove for the first time in his career. His head coach called it awesome. His co-star hit the winner. And the ground is not where legends are supposed to live. But March 14, 2026 proved that is exactly where LeBron James is now.